Okay, so here's the part one of the cheap slow computer installation. This part is going to be just putting the CPU, heatsink, memory, the SSD onto the motherboard, and then we'll have a part two where it gets installed in the case and have fans and all that stuff installed. So what you see here is I am actually installing little riser feet that goes onto the OEM back bracket so that it can actually mount the heatsink. The heatsink was previously used on a i7. I don't think it's either 8th or 9th gen i7. Luckily, the brackets and the screws are adjustable so that they can actually fit onto these this bracket as well, or not bracket, for this processor as well. So what I end up doing here is, obviously cleaning the CPU so that, hopefully there's no, grease or contaminants and whatnot. And then what I end up doing is putting the CPU on top, or a cooler on top, and then, have the fan sort of in place so that I can see the clearance. And as you can see, once clearance is verified, I have the memory modules installed. Each of these is our 4 gig DDR3 memory, I think, that came out of my virtual machine upgrade. What you see here, for the most part, this build, it's mostly free parts that I have already on hand. The only thing that I actually purchased for this is the motherboard, which I think cost me $63 shipped from China. And the CPU cooler, CPU, memory module, and SSD are even the fans and all that stuff, the case, power supply, everything that I'm going to be building for this build are pretty much free, other than the motherboard. So the entire build is going to be at about $63. So anyway, one of the weird features that this thing has is the SSD M.2 slot is right above the PCI Express slot, and it sits just underneath the heatsink. So I have to get that installed before the heatsink goes on. So now I'm going to be applying the Grizzly Thermal Grizzly, I think is the brand name, thermal paste. I have this thermal paste used on my virtual machine host server, and that CPU is also E5. I think it actually has like either 24 core 48 threads or maybe a little bit more. It's roughly around there. The difference between this one and that one is that this is a 6-core 12 threads, but the single core speed, I believe, is either 3.2 or 3.4 gigahertz. My virtual machine server CPU, while it has more cores and more threads, I think only runs at 2.2 gigahertz per core. So for gaming, the higher core clock speed always helps. Especially for the older games, they don't always utilize the multi-core. Don't really utilize that, so you don't really have as good of a performance. But for servers, running virtual machines, that actually helps. So anyway, so this is where I'm applying the thermal paste, and as you can see, SSDs installed, memory modules installed, and one of the mistakes that I made, and this is really not a mistake, is just my OCD that is not being happy, is that once this is all applied, I had this heatsink sitting on top and actually almost tightened down to the bracket, and then I realized the lettering on the CPU heatsink is upside down, so I ended up rotating it, and just so that my OCD is happy. What you see here, the SSD, it says inline there, but it's really just a box. I actually have installed a Samsung 980 EVO 500 gig M.2 SSD. Again, this is not really, I'm not really going for the performance. This is going to be cheap and kind of actually slow compared to actual gaming machines, but is really just for plain older games. So as you can see, this is pretty much done here.